Okay, dear student, Assalamu alaikum. This is the next part of your introductory chapter that is associated with merger and acquisition. In this chapter, we will discuss certain aspects of merger and acquisitions, and what are the reasons and what are the motivators and different type of merger and acquisitions and different type of and what are the different tactics which are being used in adopting these kind of strategies. So starting with what are the motivational factor in acquisition. In acquisition, the company is being acquired by a person, by an organization, and it is being actually the ownership is being taken up by the other company. So why the people? Because in this slide we will see that what are the key motivators for the seller to that they are actually ready to be acquired by by acquiring company. So first thing is that this kind of acquisition is done and the seller is actually willing to be acquired is that ownership is nearly retirement or ready for an exit. That means that it might be possible that the person who is actually working in the organization and he don't want to work anymore, he have gains his profit and he just want to be retired, he just don't want to do the business anymore, and he is just ready to exit the business, and he have actually started another kind of activities, or he just don't want to work anymore. So it might be possible that he is ready for retirement and he want to spend his life carefree, as he has gained some certain profits and he have enough saving in his hand, so he don't want to work anymore. Or ready for an exit. Ready for an exit means that it might be possible that he have any other opportunity and he's any very excited about that opportunity and he want to give up that business. So obviously he's ready to for an exit, and he just wanted to have a certain person who can take that who can help him for that exit. So that would be a motivational factor in which the seller is ready to ready that any person can come and acquire his company. Second is an inability to complete an independent concern. That means that in this case he want to do business, but he wants certain support, and he sees support in you, that it might be possible that you have very potential management personnel, or you have advanced equipment, or you have certain kind of facilities which can be helpful for to them. So in that case you will be they are dependent on you. So that's why they can willingly give their acquisition, and their company is being acquired by you. So the need or desire to obtain cost saving through economies of scale. And what is economies of scale? Because when the companies actually the companies actually produce more, obviously the per unit cost would be decreased. So in this case obviously they are willing to come up with you, and then they want to merge their facilities with you, and cost save their cost by economies of scale. Or obviously you have resources, access to greater resources of the acquired company, which is actually related to the second option. But in this case it might be possible that the company that if you are the buyer company, so you have more resources in the case of physical resources or information resources, or you can say your any other kind of research resources are there. So obviously they want to use these resources, so obviously they will be willing, and they will it would be better for them to be come the captive company under you, and you acquired that company. So these are motivational factor, and these are very actually kind of business strategies in which if you are in a position that you cannot survive anymore, or you can need certain help, so you can adopt this kind of strategy. Now, in the case of the buyers, the person who want to buy any company or acquire a company, so the key motivational factors are, or the key reasons why they want to acquire a company which is in which they are interested, or if it might be possible that that company is not working any good, but they can buy that company. First of all, revenue enhancement. Revenue enhancement means, so obviously when that company comes with you, so your revenues would be increased. And secondly, cost reduction with when you collaborate with that company and you acquire that company, so you will be producing more as compared to the previous period. So in that case, your production will be increased, and you can get benefit from economies of scale, because when you produce more, your per unit cost decline. And vertical and horizontal operational synergies or economies of scale. That means that vertical and horizontal operational synergy. Vertical means that you have a different kind of activities in the organization. You have your operational, you have your suppliers, you have your distributor, you have your customer. So obviously the customer, suppliers, and your distributors are also of your the company in which you are acquiring. So when both of these come together, or horizontal operational, that means that you have different functional areas in an organization. And so both vertical and horizontal operational synergies occur. Synergy means that when you combinely produce, you will produce more as when you are producing separately. So synergies will give you more economies of scale, and you will produce more, and you will get more profit as compared to you will producing the both companies were producing separately. So the next reason, the next motivational factor is that every company when it grows, and if most of the time when you are operating as a corporation, so in that case you have continuous pressure from your shareholders and stakeholders, and investors are interested in the business if it has growth opportunities. And if you want to persuade your investors, and if you want to actually retain your investor, so in that case you have to grow, because the growth give a very positive sign to your investor, and they'll retain your shares and obviously attract more investors. So that's the other reason that companies want to acquire different other companies. The next thing is underutilized resources. In your organization you have lot of resources, but these resources are not being utilized, and you think that if you acquire such companies, they have the potential, and you can utilize your resources betterly if you employ those resources and employ their and use their channels, and use their human resource and any other kind of resources they had. So these underutilized resources can combine with the resources of the company which you are acquiring, and with your utilized resources, so they will combinedly increase production and give you benefits. Then a desire to reduce the number of competitors. It's something very much important, because if you want to decrease competition, so you'll acquire that company who is giving you a very tough competition, or sometimes a hostile acquisition occur, and in that case the company takes certain steps through which the other company will become compelled to be acquired by you. So in that case in that case, when you acquire a company which were competing against you, so with acquiring them, you can decrease a very potential competitor. So increase market share and reduce price competition. When you acquire that company, not only your market share will be increased, because obviously their customer now become your customer, and obviously that company is now is under the ownership of you. So that means that you can decrease your competition as well. a need to gain a foothold in a new geographical market. If you are if the when you are in a current market, and the current market, it's actually a mature market, and you cannot find any opportunities over there. So if you want to have if you want to target a new market in which you find potential, so in that case you can acquire a company in that geographical area. So that will help you to have a foothold on that new geographical area, because that company which you are acquiring has a certain name in that market, and they have well established channels, and they have established customers. So that will help you to for foothold or stay over there, and help you to do your business over there. And another thing is that the company want to diversify its products and services, and they find that if they acquire a certain company, so that will give them this benefit, and they can diversify their production products and services with the help of acquiring a company. So this is another reason and motivational factors which can be there when a buyer is acquiring a company. Now we can see the motivators in mergers, that why companies want to merge with each other. First of all, a merger is a combination of two or more companies into one company. And there are lots of motives behind this, because as the company is pursuing its growth strategy, so obviously the new company, the combined company would give you synergies, and then actually also help you to grow your business. And not only that, it will increase your competitive standing in the market. And it can be done by stock swap or outright payment to the other company. But majority of time, these mergers are commonly done for the consolidation of the company. And there are many reasons. And it may be the international expansion. But whatever the company do, there are a strong reason behind its decision to merge with other company. So when so merge with the company, the first motive that the companies wanted to enter into a merger is, the first one is to restructure the industry value chain. So what is industry value chain? From the suppliers and your inbound logistic, and in the company, and within the company there are a lot of operational activities in which you will transform all the inputs into outputs. And then for outbound logistic, in which your distributors are there, your customers are there. So all these actually are your any industry's value chain. So when you merge with each other, so obviously your operational or your operating activities are being combined, your human resources are combined, plus your suppliers have to make different deals with you, as because you are now a merged company, and they have to deal with you. Not only that, their distributors are there, and your customers are there. So there would be a restructure in the whole industry chain, because you come up in the industry with a combined power of your both of companies. So that's why we can say that the motive is another motive when you are entering into merger, is that you will going to restructure the industry value chain. The second motivator is to respond to competitive cost pressure through economies of scale and scope. Obviously, when you combine, and obviously there are major reasons behind combining with each other, because every company or each company has certain capabilities. So you can combine your capabilities, and you can come with your combined competitive power in the market, which will help you to decrease your cost by producing more. Or there are two economies of scale, means that you can reduce your cost by increasing more of a production. Or you can say that economies of scale is that when you have a capacity, so you can use that unused capacity and to increase your competitive power in the industry. Second is that to improve process engineering and technology. Okay, to improve process engineering and technology is actually the when we talk about process engineering and technology, so it's the process in which the company wants to the company tries to improve each and every step of its value chain, from procurement of raw material to converting this raw material into finished goods, and their operations, they're dealing with their employees, their research and development activities, their advertising activities, and each and every aspect of the company. So by combined effort, they can increase, then improve their process engineering and technology, and provide better quality and better version of their products in the market. So, the next is to increase the scale of production and existing product lines. As you have a product line, but when you combine the efficiencies of both the companies, so it can help you to increase the production in your existing product line. But if you don't want to go into innovation, or if you don't want to go to innovate new products, but you can still increase your production or scale of production in the existing product lines in order to cover wide variety or wide range of customer in the market. The next thing is to find additional uses for existing management talent. Obviously, there are many expertise in both the companies which are about to merge, and they have their specific management skills and talents. But you think that these management talent can be used in different ways with the help of the each other, or with help of collaboration. So obviously these existing management talent can be used in the combined synergetic effect, by giving the combined synergetic effect, or redeploy excess capital in more profitable or complementary uses. Obviously, when people from different companies combine, they have their far-sightedness, they have forecasting abilities. They can help you to gain more opportunities, or you can find new uses or new arenas in which you can be more profitable, and you can gain more profit from your existing benefits. Then lastly, to obtain tax benefits. This isn't the case when there is a company which has high profits, and they have a high tax liability, and it is going to merge with a company which is going into the losses. So when those companies combine with each other, so the high profit will obviously offset the losses of the merged company, the other company which has losses. And obviously when you are doing this, so in this case your taxable income would be decreased, and you will have to pay less taxes. That's why we can say that when you are merging with the companies with losses, so obviously that will give you tax benefit, or in the longer run you're going to improve the losses, and you can go to improve all the all the you can say the deficiencies, or all the inefficiencies of that company, in order to improve the combined profit of the companies. Okay, what is the difference between merger and acquisition? Both are actually the growth option for the company, but there is difference between mergers and acquisition. First of all, the meaning. When we talk about merger, so merger is actually a fusion of two or more companies. For example, and the activity is a kind of friendly activity. So they voluntarily want to combine their resources, combine their capabilities, combine their management skill, in order to excel the market, in order to in order to build a more strong competitive advantage. And mostly they want to they actually form a new company. But in the case of acquisition, one entity purchases business of the other entity, and sometimes this kind of activity is friendly, but sometimes it is actually a hostile takeover, in which the acquiring company is not willing to be acquired, but the company which has more power can persuade its shareholders and buy its shares, and take over that company. So there is this difference is there. So in the second difference difference is that formation of new firm. In case of merger, there is formation of a new entity. When those two companies combine, they form a new entity. But in the case of acquisition, this kind of new formation doesn't take place. The third thing is the purpose. First difference is to decrease the competition and increase operational efficiency. Obviously, both companies are have their resources, both companies have their capabilities, and majority of time both company has competitive advantage, and they want to decrease competition in the market, and they want to have a combined capacity or combined operational efficiency. So in order to build synergies, so that's why they combine their resources and everything they have to increase the operational efficiency of their company. But in the case of acquisition, the more the for instantaneous growth means that they want to increase their size and they want to grow, and on their purpose is to, the intention is to increase the size of their company, or they give growth to the company, so they acquire the other company. The fourth difference is the size of merging company is more or less the same. Obviously, because the both company have their potentials, both company have their resources. The majority of time, the merger take place, and the merger take place between the company which have almost same in size. But this kind of activity doesn't happen in acquisition, because the size of the acquiring company is bigger than acquired company, and they have 50% or more shares, so that's why they have a potential to acquire that company, and because they have a power, that's why they can acquire the company. So a number of company involved, that means that the merger can take place between more than two companies, three companies, but the acquisition activity can be occurred between two companies. So these are the major difference between merger and acquisition. As we are discussing different options, and we are saying that a merger is a very good activity and they can increase growth, but these are very important, but there are certain limitations and there are certain problems which are being faced by the company who have involved in these activities, and they have certain problems. First of all, why it's important to merge? First of all, obviously, if you want to increase your market share, you can and by analyzing the market and analyzing your resources, you want to decide that you want to merge, and the merging is can help you to increase your market share. But the problem with that when you are merging two companies, every company has its own corporate culture, and what would happen after the merger, whatever after the transition, because two companies working in different corporate culture, in different corporate setting, in organization setting, how they will work together. So it's very important that we should understand, while we are merging, that whether it's feasible for combining these two type of corporate cultures. So that's something very much important, because these things has to be think ahead before going into the merger. So problem, if you identify the problem, you can take necessary action before going into taking the decision for merger with that particular companies. Second thing is economies of scale. The second we have discussed this thing before, that when the two companies capabilities and resources combine, so it will help them to decrease their cost by increasing more of the increasing their production. Then so obviously when you increase more, your per unit cost would be declined, or efficiency will also decrease your per unit cost. But you have to understand that while doing so, because these resources are being acquired by different people, these resources are from different setting, so whether combining these resources further should not further increase the complexity of business or not, because when the company grows in size, there would be complexities, and you have to understand that problem, and you have to think ahead ahead before doing these kind of thing. Third thing is profit for research and development. Obviously, research and development activity is very much important, but you have to think that whether this research and development or profit you are getting from research and development will be enough to will be enough, or it will increase more the complexities of the business. So you have to think of that. Then reduction of the competition. Obviously you are there because you want to do this transition, because by combined power of both the companies you can increase your market power, you can decrease the competition, and you can increase your competitive advantage, or sustain your competitive advantage for a longer time period. And so but that thing could not be done without the collaboration with your employees. And if your employees are resistant to change, because employees, when you are merging with the other company, so it will the employees have to work with other in the different organization setting. So whether if they are resistant to change, so it will create problems for you. So you have to consider these things before going ahead for taking such a move, because it will increase almost the whole culture, because two culture will combine and it create a new culture or combined culture. So whether that transition would be acceptable for your employees or not, so you have to consider that thing as well. So these are the problems and importance of merging with merger activities. Okay. Same is the case with the acquisition, that why acquisition is important and why not. So as we have discussed earlier, that the acquisition activity is actually being done in order to increase the growth of the company, in order to increase the size of the company, and obviously to increase the market share. So this kind of activity is very much important, because if you want to increase the market share, you have to involve in such kind of activity. But it's very important that you should evaluate that after acquiring certain companies, whether it will be able to give you a higher value in the market, whether it will increase your value or not, or because you are targeting a certain company, and you have an intention, and you have assumed that that company will help you to increase the value of the company. But certain times the corporate executive, or the people who are the strategist managers, were actually fail to actually measure the after acquisition value of the company. So you have to carefully evaluate the target, and after that you can go and acquire that company. This problem, people have faced this problem in the past, so that's why it's very important, so firstly to have accurate knowledge of the company in which you are acquiring, because certain times certain things are being missed, and which will create problem later on. So we have to adequately value the target. Second important is that when we involve in the acquisition activity, so it will increase diversification. We can diversify our operation, we can enter into new markets, we can enter into new products, we can enter into different kind of services. So it's very important to acquire certain companies which will help you into the diversification. But it will also very important that we should understand that whether when you are acquiring that company, it will able to increase your this synergy, because increasing the after acquired value is very much important. And you have, because when you acquire that company, you have to combine those resources within your company's resources in order to create synergy. So if the synergy will not being achieved, so there will be no use of that acquisition. So the problem is, certain time the problem is that the company is unable to achieve synergy. So you have to assess this thing, because the major emphasis is for synergies. So if we are not able to create synergies, or not able to achieve synergy, so that's something very create problem for the company. Then excessive competition and cost maximization, because there is excessive competition in the market, and there is a higher cost, and in order to decrease that cost and in order to increase profits, the company may go and acquire the other company. But certain time when you are indulge in the acquiring activity, you can take you the companies take too much debt, and these too much debt create problem in the future. So you have to consider these problem while you indulge into the acquiring activities. Okay. A corporate merger can result in variety of action for a shareholder. In many cases, shareholder will receive cash, stocks, or combination of two. So, in stocks for stocks, company in stock for stock merger agree to exchange shares based on set of ratio. For example, if company X and Y agree to 1:2 stock merger, shareholder will receive 1 X share for every 2 shares they currently hold. Y share will cease trading and the number of outstanding X share will increase following the completion of the merger. The post-merger X share price will depend on the market assessment of the future earning prospect for the new entity. The share price immediately following the merger announced usually reflect the exchange ratio, fears of dilution, and prospects for smooth integration. If X and Y shares are trading at $20 and $8 per merger respectively, X share may drop to $18 after the merger announcement because of dilution fears, and Y share may rise to $9 to reflect the exchange ratio. The second option is cash for stock. In cash merger or takeovers, the acquiring company agrees to pay a certain dollar amount for each share of the target company's stock. The target share price would rise to reflect the takeover offer. For example, if company X agrees to pay $22 for each share of company Y, the share price of X would rise to about $22 to reflect the offer. The price will rise even further if additional companies are interested in acquiring Y. However, the X share price would initially fall if the investors are unconvinced about the strategic value of the merger. After the company merge, Y share will receive $22 for each share they hold, and Y share will stop trading. The other option, that is receiving combination of cash and stock. Some stock merger result in new entity. For example, companies X and Y would merge to become a new company, and shareholder receiving for example, for new corporation share based on their prior holding. So a merger agreement sometimes gives shareholders a choice for receiving stock, cash, or both. For example, X would offer Y shares, the option of receiving $20 in cash, 1 X share for every 2 Y shares they now hold, or a combination of $10 in cash and 0.33 X shares for each Y shares. So whatever option they want to choose, they can choose from that. So what are by we have discussed in what ways we can merge between companies, or when the corporations decide to merge with each other. So in what ways they can merge with each other. The second thing is that there are certain strategic choices, and there are different types of mergers which take place. So first of all are your horizontal mergers. So that means a merger between or occur between the company which are working in the same industry. So that means that are entertaining the same customers, they are entertaining the same market. And in this case, when we talk about a horizontal merger, so our horizontal merger is the kind of merger in which you want to decrease your competitor, and previously those companies who are now going to merge were actually were competitive with each other. So in this case, in order to decrease the competition and in order to increase the collaboration, so what they'll do, they can merge with each other and have a more competitive power in order to have a gain on the whole market. So this is called as horizontal merger. But vertical merger is a kind of merger in which you are merging with not the company with the company who is not of this producing the same product, but you are actually merging with the company which is your supplier, or which is your actually distributor. So you can merge with that company, so obviously you will have a benefit of that. For example, if you are making a tire, so you can merge with the company who are producing rubbers. Or if you are producing some, for example, you are a merchandise of a clothing industry, so obviously you can merge with the textile company. So this would be a merger in which value chain measure, when two companies produce same goods and services for one specific product. So obviously, so this the kind of merger is called as a vertical merger. The other one is your conglomerate merger. As you know that conglomerate, the word conglomerate means that when companies collaborate or enter into the market with and enter or make a portfolio with different kinds of products. So this is a merger between firms involved in totally unrelated business activity. For example, if you are working in an education sector, so you go and merge with other company which are actually producing some fabric or some clothing industry, are working in a clothing industry. So this is called as conglomerate mergers, in which the company merge with unrelated business activity. Or the last one is called as concentric mergers, the merger of firms which are into similar type of business but not in the same market. Most majority of time not in a same market. They are actually producing the same product and serving the same kind of customer, but in different geographical area, or in different type of products. Or you can say that they don't have a similar product, but they have a product which is related to each other. For example, if you are producing a printer, or if you are producing a printer, so you can merge with the company who are actually producing ink, or the thing which can be very much complementary, or papers in which can be very complementary for a printer. So obviously you can merge with that company, because obviously you cannot use printer without papers or without ink. So this is called as concentric mergers, in which the companies can enter into the business and enter into the collaboration with similar type of business. The other type is acquisition. And what is acquisition? Acquisition also called as a takeover, because in this type of arrangement, one company takes over another company, and that company which is taking over that company has a domination in that, and it is called as a purchaser is in that acquisition. There are different type of acquisition. First one is friendly acquisition. So far, when as the name suggests, that it is an acquisition which is being done with the consent of both the parties, and the company is duly informed before the bidding company puts up an offer. The management of the company has sufficient time to evaluate this acquisition terms and condition, and if it is found in the better interest of all the shareholders and projects wealth maximization of the shareholders, the management will support offer price to shareholders. Normally, the private company takeovers are friendly, because there is a hardly any difficult difference between the board of directors and the shareholders. A simple reason is that the management of the company has almost full control over the equity of the company, and therefore the bidder cannot go and bid without the consent of the management. So far this is called as a friendly acquisition. The second is your reverse acquisition. When an unlisted private company buy a listed public company, it is called a reverse acquisition. So a common intention of the private company behind this kind of activity or this kind of arrangement is that this merger can be friendly or hostile one. The reason behind choosing this mode to become a listed company is to save on cost of listing, which is quite significant for some smaller companies. So obviously in order to avoid the cost of listing, say they'll go for a reverse acquisition. The third type of acquisition is backflip acquisition, and this backflip acquisition is one where a bidding company becomes the subsidiary of the taken over company, or The reason behind this kind of arrangement is that it is to take benefit of the brand value of taken over company. For example, AT&T was taken over by SBC, but AT&T name was continued as it was a well-known established brand name. Such takeovers or acquisition take place when the well-known named company is short of resources to run the company and lesser known company is cash rich and searching for an investment opportunity. Although there can be many motive behind any you can say any kind of acquisition, merger, or takeovers. So the last thing is your hostile acquisition, and these are actually normally done without the consent of your manager and management, and a direct offer is given to shareholder without the knowledge of management. Or it may be a case that management rejected the offer by bidding company and the bidder is still persuading to direct deal with the shareholder. So this is called as your hostile takeover, because in this kind of acquisition, the company is the taking over company is not willing, and so the acquiring company or the bidding company can go directly and deal with shareholders and buy their shares and take over the company. So this is called as your hostile takeover or hostile acquisition. So this is the example of a friendly acquisition with Johnson and Johnson and Crucial. So they both companies approved the acquisition under very friendly terms. So this is the friendly acquisition between Johnson and Johnson Medical Company and Crucial Biotechnology. So this is an example of reverse acquisition, and as we know that reverse acquisition is a kind of arrangement in which a private company takes over a public company. So this is the Clearwire wireless broadband which has actually taken the exam. So this is called as reverse acquisition. So this is the third example, that is called as a backflip acquisition. As the purchasing company becomes a subsidiary of the purchase company. So Texas Air Composites become the Continental Airlines. So this is called as Blackflip acquisition. As Blackflip acquisition is a kind of acquisition in which the purchasing companies use the brand name of the acquiring company because it has a very good name and they are now currently short of resources or short of cash. So the company which is purchasing them has excessive cash, so they can use the brand name of the acquiring company. So this is called as backflip acquisition. This is the last example of your hostile takeover, sorry, the acquisition type that is called as hostile takeover. As we know that hostile takeover is the kind of arrangement in which the acquiring company is not willing to be acquired by the bidding company. All the activity will be done by force, and the purchasing company gives a direct offer to the shareholders of that company, and by purchasing their shares of that company, they can take over the company. So here the entire process is done by force, and the Oracle taking over PeopleSoft is actually the kind of hostile takeover. This is called as hostile takeover. Okay, top 5 mergers and acquisition deals. Following are different 5 top mergers and acquisition deals. So we can go through one by one. First of all, there's Disney and Pixar Marvel acquisition. In 2006, Walt Disney Corporation acquired Pixar from for $7.4 billion. Since then, movies such as Finding Dory, Toy Story 3, and Wall-E have generated billions in revenue. 3 years after the Pixar acquisition, Disney CEO Bob Iger set out to acquire Marvel Entertainment for $4 billion. Considering 11 Marvel movies have brought in more than $3.5 billion since the acquisition, and is good example of successful acquisition across all fronts. So this is the actually example of Disney and Pixar and Marvel acquisition. The second example is Google and Android acquisition. In 2005, Google acquired Android for an estimated $50 million. At the time of the deal, Android was an unknown mobile startup company. The move made it possible for Google to compete in a market owned by Microsoft and with Windows Mobile and Apple's iPhone. This deal is a successful acquisition. Example, 5.4, 54.5% of US smartphone subscriber use a Google Android device as of May 2018. And actually, we are now in 2020, so it has increased up to unlimited levels. The third one is the Exxon and Mobil mergers. So in 1998, Exxon Corporation and Mobil Corporation made news when they announced their plans to merge. At the time, the companies were the first and second largest US oil producer. The deal closed at a whopping of $80 million, and since the deal was made, investors have quadrupled their money and shares have gone up to 93% with dividends reinvested. This it's a very good example of horizontal merger. There are many other examples of horizontal merger, that is Facebook and Instagram in 2012, Disney and 21st Century Fox. So these are different horizontal mergers. Okay, this is another example of merger, and it is a merger between Vodafone and Management. Vodafone is a UK-based company, and Management is actually a German-based company. And it's actually this merger was done in 2000, and it worth was 180 billion, and it's actually the largest merger and acquisition transaction in the history. As Vodafone is a UK-based company and Management is German-owned industrial conglomerate. So this deal made Vodafone the largest mobile operator and aimed to set the stage for future telecoms. So this is another example of merger activity. Pfizer and Warner Lambert acquisition. In 2000, Pfizer acquired Warner Lambert for $90 billion, both companies in the pharmaceutical drug industries. It is known as one of the most hostile acquisition in history due to the fact that Warner Lambert was originally going to be acquired by American Home Products, a consumer goods company. American Home Products walked away from the deal, resulting in large breakup fee, and Pfizer swooped in. Pfizer had their eyes on Warner Lambert because of the highly demanded cholesterol medication Lipitor. Pfizer had commercial rights to Lipitor, but Pfizer was splitting profits on it and with Warner Lambert, and in 1999, Warner Lambert sued Pfizer to end their licensing pact. The acquisition created the second largest drug company, took 3 months, and Pfizer obtained control of Lipitor's profit, which amounted to over $13 billion. Another example of Heinz and Kraft Foods merger. In 2015, the boards of both companies, along with the approval from shareholders and regulatory authorities, agreed to merge worth $100 billion. The newly formed Kraft Heinz company became the third largest food and beverage company in the United States and the fifth largest worldwide. Many household food brands such as Philadelphia, Capri Sun, and Heinz tomato ketchup now fall under one roof. So this is another successful example of merger activities.